The man I loved tried to kill me, but I wasn't alone in the woods. They say you never truly know a person until you're tied to a tree, bleeding into the snow, watching the man you once kissed raise a knife with your name on it. I loved him. I believed every lie. But I wasn't alone in that forest. And something, or someone, was watching us both. It's strange what you remember when you're about to die. Not your birthday. Not your favorite song. You remember the bark biting into your wrist. The burn of rope against frozen skin. You remember the sound of his boots crunching away through the snow. And the silence he left behind. That silence was worse than pain. Worse than fear. It was knowing he wasn't coming back. I couldn't move. My arms were twisted behind me, wrapped in coarse rope, and the cold had already turned my fingers into useless blocks of ice. The tree behind me was wide, old, unmoving, like some ancient god watching me die. I tried to scream. Nothing. My voice cracked somewhere between my throat and the night air. All I could hear was my own breath, shallow and panicked, like a rabbit trapped under glass. Then I felt it. A presence. Heavy. Unnatural. Watching. I turned my head slowly, vision blurred from tears and cold. Two golden eyes blinked back at me from the darkness. Not human. Wider apart. Too still. Too patient. A wolf. He stood motionless at the edge of the clearing. A shadow carved from night itself. Huge. Silent. His breath visible in the frozen air. And yet, he didn't move. Didn't growl. Didn't charge. Just watched. Some part of me, ancient and buried, screamed inside. Predator. Another part whispered. Protector. I didn't know which to believe. All I knew was, I wasn't alone anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that mattered. People always ask survivors the same question. Didn't you see the signs? And I always want to laugh. Because yes, I saw them. I just chose to call them love. But before him, before everything fell apart, there was peace. There was home. I grew up in the forest. Not metaphorically. Not in some cozy cabin with running water and Netflix. No. Real forest. Pines older than memory. Mountains that swallowed sunlight by noon. Wolves howling like ghosts across the valley. My parents were wild in their own ways. Dad was a conservationist. A hunter who rarely carried a gun. He believed in balance, in silence, in reading the ground like scripture. He used to say, "The forest doesn't lie, Anna. But you have to listen to what it doesn't say." Mom was softer but sharper. A biologist. She knew everything about animals. Their rituals, their language, their stories. She used to kneel in the snow, trace a paw print, and tell me who left it, what time, and whether it was limping or hungry or just passing through. She used to call the forest our family's book. Every track a sentence. Every howl a page turning. My brother, Caleb, and I believed her. We spent hours chasing fox tracks, watching owls, arguing whether a set of claw marks came from a lynx or a lost dog. We weren't just kids in the woods. We belonged there. And the wolves, they weren't monsters to us. They were stories. Myths. Brothers in the shadows. Mom said, wolves don't kill for pleasure. They don't destroy what they don't need. They protect their own. Better than people do. I didn't understand how right she was, until it was too late. Paw prints flashback moment. One night when I was 9, I heard something scratching under my window. I remember Dad's hand on my shoulder. Firm. Don't be afraid, he whispered. Fear teaches nothing. He opened the door. And standing 10 feet from our cabin was a wolf. Thin. Wounded. But not afraid. It stared at us. We stared back. Then it turned, slow and deliberate, and limped into the trees. Dad turned to me and said, "That one remembers us. His pack crossed paths with me last winter." I let them go. Looks like he returned the favor. At the time it felt like magic. Well, I wonder if that wolf had children of his own. One of them is watching me now. His name was Damien. Of course it was. The kind of name that sounds like danger in disguise. But when I first met him, All I saw was a broken down Jeep on the edge of our reserve road and a man kicking the tire like it owed him something. He was handsome in that clean, sharp way. Mid-30s, strong jaw, stubble like he shaved for no one. His dark eyes matched the storm gray of the mountain sky. And when he looked at me, really looked, he smiled like I was a secret only he understood. "Battery's dead," he said, brushing snow off his sleeves. "You wouldn't happen to be a mechanic and a forest angel, would you?" I laughed. Caleb didn't. My brother was always suspicious. Always quiet around strangers. Especially ones with charm in their back pockets and no real reason to be near a protected wildlife zone. But me, I was lonely. I was tired of silence and pine needles and echoes of ghosts. So we helped him, towed his car, gave him tea, let him stay the night. It should have ended there, but it didn't. Damien came back a week later. "Just passing through," he said. Then again the week after that. Then he stayed. He started helping around the research center. Fixing fences, running equipment, asking smart questions about migration patterns and wildlife tracking. He made himself useful. He made himself wanted. And I fell. Fast. Hard. He listened. He looked like he cared. He knew how to talk about wolves. Not like tourists do, but like someone who understood wild things. "Wolves are perfect," he told me once by the fireplace. "They don't lie. They don't cheat. They survive. They kill, yes, but only when they must. Not like us. Not like you." I should have flinched at that last line. Then said, I kissed him. Caleb noticed first. Of course he did. "He's hiding something," he told me. "You just don't want me to be happy," I snapped. We argued. Like siblings do. And Damien stood just out of earshot, sipping coffee, watching us like a man who had already won. Then came the phone call. Late at night. Damien was outside. I couldn't understand the words. Harsh, guttural, a language I didn't recognize. But the tone was wrong. Too calm. Too commanding. Like he wasn't asking for something. He was threatening someone. When he turned and saw me watching him through the window, he ended the call without a blink. "Everything all right?" I asked. He smiled. That same perfect practice smile. "Of course, baby. Everything's just fine." And like a fool, I believed him. It started with a whisper. The wind outside was soft, but something about that night felt off. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the way Damien's voice dropped during that phone call. The way he never talked about his past. The way Caleb watched him like he was tracking a wounded predator. So I got up. I stepped onto the porch, barefoot, wrapped in a blanket. The mountains were still. The trees didn't move. Even the wolves were silent. That's when I saw them. 2 men. Standing in the clearing beyond the tree line. One of them, Damien. The other, a stranger. Nervous. Angry. I crouched into the shadows. Watched. Listened. "You don't understand who you're dealing with," the man said. His voice cracked with fear. "I understand perfectly," Damien replied. "Calm. Flat. Deadly. I just need more time," the man begged. "I'll get the money. I swear." Damien tilted his head like a curious dog. "No, you won't." Then he moved. Not like a man. Like a shadow breaking apart from another shadow. There was no warning. No hesitation. Just a flash of silver in his hand, and the sound of something soft collapsing into snow. The man gasped. Then coughed. Then went still. I covered my mouth. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Damien knelt beside the body, wiped his knife clean on the dead man's coat. Then he turned. And saw me. He didn't run. Didn't panic. Just started walking toward me, slow and deliberate. "Come down, Anna," he said softly. I froze. "Come down, sweetheart." Still soft. But there was steel underneath. Something final. I stepped down. He stopped inches from me. Reached out. Tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear like it was any other night. "I don't know what you saw," he whispered, "but if you ever betray me..." He ran his fingers gently along my jaw. I'll find you. Always. Not really. I pretended. I smiled. I kept making coffee and talking about weather and pretending that the man I once kissed wasn't a killer. Caleb knew something was wrong. He watched me with questions in his eyes. But I couldn't speak them out loud. Couldn't say it. Because Damien wasn't just dangerous. He was confident. He knew I was too scared to run. And he was right. They came in the morning. Unmarked black cars. No sirens. No shouting. Just the cold, calculated rhythm of boots on wood. Interpol. They didn't knock. They didn't need to. Damien was sitting in the armchair by the fire when they came in. He didn't flinch. He didn't run. He just looked up at them like they were late for dinner. But when he looked at me, I felt the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. You told them, he said. Calm. Flat. No emotion. Not a question. A statement. I didn't speak. That's when he hit me. It was so fast I didn't register it. One moment I was standing, the next, the world was sideways and my mouth filled with blood. I heard someone shouting. One of the agents? Caleb? It didn't matter. The only voice I heard was Damien's, low and almost tender. I knew you would, he whispered, crouching beside me. His hand touched my cheek. Not lovingly. Possessively. They all do. The agents let him speak. Let him touch me. As if they were curious what he'd do. Then they moved. Handcuffs. Shouts. Steel against wood. And as they dragged him out, he leaned toward me one last time, lips inches from my ear. This isn't over. They took him. But they didn't stay. Nobody did. Caleb tried, of course. Brought food. Sat in silence. Cleaned the blood from the floor. But I wasn't really there anymore. I was somewhere else. Still at the tree. Still feeling the rope burn. Still hearing Damien's voice. The version of me that trusted people. That smiled at strangers. That kissed a man just because he knew how to talk about wolves. That girl died the moment his hand struck my face and I didn't scream. The girl that stayed, she ran. A month later I changed my name. Anna Koval. New identity. New home. Deep in the mountains where no one could find me. Or so I thought. I spent my days in silence. I spoke to no one. Trusted no one. Except the wolves. They never asked questions. They never lied. They never struck me with hands that once held me. One day I found a pup. Barely breathing. Blood on its paws. Mother gone, killed by traps. I should have let nature take its course. But I didn't. I took him home. Nursed him. Sat beside him. Never touched him without warning. He didn't trust me at first. But one night he lay beside me on the porch and didn't move away. And I knew. I wasn't alone anymore. Caleb's truck pulled up in the late afternoon. I wasn't expecting him. He rarely came anymore. City life suited him better than dirt paths and wolf tracks. But the look on his face stopped me cold. He stepped out of the truck slowly, like the ground beneath him wasn't solid. In his hand, a plain envelope. No return address. Government seal on the flap. He handed it to me without a word. My hands shook before I even opened it. And somehow, I already knew. Damien had escaped. Transfer failed. That's all the letter said at first. Followed by bureaucratic jargon. Miscommunication. External breach. Unknown assistance. Search ongoing. Do not panic. Do not panic. I laughed. Out loud. Sharp and bitter. Because panic was already crawling up my spine, wrapping itself around my ribs like barbed wire. Caleb watched me crumble. I'll help you disappear again, he said. But I just shook my head. You don't understand. He doesn't chase. He hunts. That night I didn't sleep. I sat on the porch, rifle beside me. The wolf pup, no longer a pup, now nearly full-grown, lay curled at my feet. His eyes never left the trees. I whispered to him like a child saying prayers. If he comes, you'll smell him first. If he moves, you'll hear him. If I die, don't let him walk away. The next morning, Caleb left to check the outer perimeter of the reserve. Bait traps had been found, likely poachers. He insisted it was unrelated. I didn't argue. But when the sun began to fall and Caleb didn't return, I felt it. That awful cold that's not from weather, but from knowing something is wrong. I tried the radio. Static. I grabbed my coat, rifle, flashlight. And the wolf followed. It didn't take long to find the tracks. Caleb's prints. And another pair. Boots. Large. Heavier. Purposeful. Then blood. Not much. But enough. Enough to make me run. Branches tore at my face. My lungs burned. The wolf sprinted beside me, silent as ever. And then, there, a body in the snow dumped me into the trees. His eyes were open. But he wasn't there anymore. One shot to the chest. One to the head. Control. Execution. The world narrowed to a pinpoint. There was no sound. No breath. A whisper of movement behind me. I didn't have to turn around. I knew that voice. I knew the cadence. The calm cruelty. I closed my eyes. Then everything went black. Pain came first. Then the cold. Then the realization that I couldn't move. My arms were pulled tight behind me, wrists burning against rough rope. My legs half frozen, my breath shallow. The bark of the tree behind me dug into my spine like a warning. It was the same kind of tree from my childhood. Only now I was no longer part of the forest. I was prey. Footsteps crunched in the snow. Slow. Calculated. Almost theatrical. And then his voice. "You didn't expect to see me again, did you?" He stepped into the clearing. Same jacket. Same boots. Same dead eyes. He crouched in front of me, smiling. Not with warmth, but with satisfaction. "You ran. You hid. You even tried to erase yourself. But I'm not like the others, Anna. I finish what I start." I didn't respond. He reached out, touched my cheek gently, and that softness made it so much worse. "You look scared," he whispered. "Good." He stood, pulled a knife from his coat. The blade caught the moonlight. Thin, surgical, intimate. "I could kill you now. Fast. Clean. But where's the fun in that?" He took a step forward. "You took everything from me. So now I take my time." A shift in the shadows. Damien noticed it too. He turned alert. Knife raised. What the hell was that? Silence. Then, a low growl. Long, deep. From the edge of the trees he emerged. Massive. Graceful. His fur a dark blur, his eyes glowing with firelight. Damien laughed. "Seriously, Wolf? That's your backup plan?" But the wolf didn't charge. He didn't snarl. He walked. Slowly. Calmly. Between me and the man who wanted to kill me. And then he stopped. And looked Damien in the eye. Damien stepped back. Just 1 inch. The wolf stepped forward. Another growl, but deeper now, chest rattling, primal. Damien raised the knife, unsure. "You think I'm afraid of an animal?" The wolf didn't move. He waited. For Damien to blink. He didn't get the chance. I don't remember exactly how it happened. Only the blur of motion. Only the scream. Only the way the snow turned dark so fast. I felt the rope loosen. Felt warm breath on my face. Then silence again. And when I opened my eyes, the wolf was sitting beside me. He didn't run away after that. Most wolves would. But not him. He stayed. Beside me. Beside the cabin. As if he knew the danger wasn't just from knives or men or memories. As if he knew I needed him. Maybe he needed me too. They found Damien's body 3 days later. Or what was left of it. They asked me what happened. I told them the truth. The forest protects its own. They didn't understand. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. This wasn't just a story about fear. It was about survival. About remembering who you were before someone tried to break you. And about the wild things that wait for us when we stop pretending to be tame. Don't forget to subscribe, comment your thoughts, and share this story. And remember, you're never really alone. Never do.